You're listening to the Overcast. Sunshine on a cloudy day. Part of the Oversoul Gaming channel. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Overcast, the entertainment podcast focused on fun. I am your host, Justin, aka Oversoul.
And I am your co-host, Nick, aka The Vaping Feed.
And we're bringing you sunshine on a cloudy day.
Yes,
as the
sir.
song at the beginning always insinuates. And I will say the sunshine is starting to finally peek through the clouds because I may have found a new apartment to move into.
Aw, shit.
Granted, it's not my first choice, but I'm a firm believer that beggars can't be choosers, and I am in a position right now where I literally can't afford to be choosy.
Right,
So,
exactly.
As long as it's not like sinking into the ground at this point, I'm okay. And the upside is, regardless of, 'cause I went to go see the place today, and it's not terrible. It's absolutely nothing like the pictures on Zillow. Those pictures were obviously took when the place was brand new and shiny. This place looks very lived in. You can tell someone's been there.
Fair enough, yeah.
But that being said, though, the landlord is he's kind of a strict, no-nonsense, business-first guy. He's very clear about it. He's like, I'm not in this to make friends. I'm just in this to give people a clean, safe place to live. He's like, I don't want to get screwed over. You don't want to get screwed over. So it would be... He's nice. I don't know if that's the right word. He's actually kind of abrasive, but he's not an asshole. He's out of all the landlords that we've dealt with, he's the one that's willing to actually, he called me the other day and he's like, I approved your application, but I have some caveats. He's like, the cats are fine, but I'm going to need you to pay an extra deposit on them, just to be safe. And what I heard, though, another landlord that I applied with told me that they spoke to my current landlord, and he told them some very unflattering things.
Oh.
So, not only did my current landlord put me in this position in the first place, but now he's actively trying to sabotage my hunt for another apartment.
That's fucky.
Yeah.
That's very fucky.
Yeah, exactly.
What fuck?
Oh, yeah. But I think this guy that I'm working with now, he kind of realized that. So I'm thinking, put the deposit down this week, first month's rent next week, and he said I'm willing to spread your payments for the cat deposit across the first few months of rent. So we'll just break it up. We'll just add an extra
fucking awesome
to the rent. Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
So to me, he comes off like one of those badasses with a heart of gold type situation.
He gives a shit. He gives a shit.
Very, very strict, very business oriented, no nonsense, not in this to make friends, but he doesn't want to see you homeless either, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he did say, he's got rules, though. He was like, yeah, y'all can have cable in here. He's like, don't put no dish on the roof, though. That's an easy way to get kicked out. I don't want nothing on the roof. So, he's straightforward. He's blunt, is the best way to put it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And... You know me, sometimes I don't do very well with blunt, but I do appreciate it. There is a level of reassurance in it, in the fact that I think the fact that he is that way means that he'll be very on top of things. So if something goes wrong, he's gonna get it fixed.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, though, I'll have to be careful for a while because because he's been screwed over before, he's automatically skeptical of new tenants. So he has a inspection every 60 days, but it's in the lease what those days will be. It's
good,
very specific dates. So ahead of time, and it's basically he's just trying to make sure you're keeping the place clean and not breaking shit. Right? Is basically what it is. That's all he really cares about, and cleaning up after your pets.
Yeah, of course.
And he I forget, oh, the other thing is there is a basement, but he won't give you basement access right away. You have to earn it. You have to prove that you're a good tenant. You're going to be there long term. I'm sorry, it's a year lease. So, but like, you gotta, after the first couple of months, if you prove yourself, he'll give you basement access, and there's a washer and dryer hookup down there.
Nice.
So for the first little bit, I would have to be going to the laundromat to do my laundry.
Yeah.
If nothing goes wrong, and which I don't see why it would, because I, have no reason to sabotage this. I'll get basement access eventually, and I can put my washer and dryer down there. So it's gonna suck at first because I have to spend an ass load of money to even move in the first place, and then I gotta rent a storage shed for the extra shit that's not gonna fit in this new place and all that. But but it'll get better.
Yeah.
Once I've been there a while, everything will even out eventually.
Yeah.
So once it's just like regular rent payments, and then get the basement eventually, and when I have access to the basement, then I can move shit out of the shed. So that'll all be. So things are looking up. There are other areas I applied for out here that I would much rather have. Like actual houses for rent, like a full house, that are good prices. Granted, they are also kind of fixer uppers, but it's This one is a duplex, the one I looked at today, but it's a side-by-side duplex, so both sides have a top and bottom. So when you walk in, the first area you come in is the dining room, and it's got one of those, I don't know, like book reading windows. It's talking about. It's got like the ledge in there that you can kind of sit on or set stuff on, and
nice.
It's a window that sticks out a little bit, and it's a little curved.
Yeah,
one of those. And then there's, it's a wooden floor dining room and all that jazz. And then it goes straight into the carpeted living room, which is a little small, but it's, it's cozy. And then there's a kitchen, and it is a long kitchen. It goes from the living room to the back door. It's not narrow. It's a little narrow, but it's not like claustrophobic narrow. It's a long kitchen. There is a lot of counter space, lot of counter space in this kitchen, and then there's.
That sounds like a kid. That sounds like a kitchen I would love to cook.
And then the back. The back door has a closed-in porch on it too.
Nice.
Which is kind of nice little area to put out, or probably like a good area for the litter boxes, because it's just like it's a wooden, thing, and it's not. But what was I gonna say? And then there's a downstairs half bath, so it's just like a toilet and sink. But then upstairs, there's 2 bedrooms. They both have pretty decent sized closets. One of them's got a pretty big closet. And then there's a full bathroom upstairs with the shower as well. It's obvious that the previous tenants did not take good care of this place. There's like, they shot the window with a BB gun, and they were
Christ.
stuff like that. So I can understand why he's being the way he is.
Yeah,
this landlord. Yeah. But yeah, the story, the Oversoul versus Landlord arc may finally be coming to an end. Granted, the finale was anticlimactic. I guess I didn't really talk about that either, did I? I guess the conclusion to that isn't some grand thing. The reality of it is, if this was a Hollywood movie, we would have shredded his ass in court, and people would have cheered as we walked out. But that's not how real life works. So, unfortunately,
right?
So we just ended up coming to an agreement. Leaving by the end of August. Is the goal here. So, that's all. That's all it really is. But yeah. So that's the story of the hunt for the apartment. The landlord arc ended in a treaty, and now I'm on a new arc, the hunt for the new domain.
Right, yeah, hell yeah.
Alright, what's up with you then?
I've been working a lot. Um, not necessarily long hours, but not even days. Like, yeah, it's they've been scheduling me for like these ridiculous hours. I mean, they had me working overnights, bro. I fucking love the overnight crew. I really do. It's fun. It's laid back. And basically when we don't have any orders uh coming in, we make sure we get the shit that we need done first before we go outside and like out for a smoke or something.
Right, right, right. I remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
We took advantage of downtime when I was working there for sure. Because a lot of it was though, and a lot of it is the town I live in, if I'm being honest. But so many of the customers that we would get after midnight were some of the most insufferable people I've ever met. So, we were
I've never on. Oh,
extremely stressed.
I haven't run. Yeah, I haven't run into anything like that yet.
I'm surprised. No Karens for you, nothing, huh?
Nothing. I mean, I'm never on drive-through. I'm always on. I'm always on the food line. I'm always putting the food together.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if we do get a Karen, I can still hear said Karen through the headset because they have me wear a headset too.
Right, so that you know what's coming, so you can like kind of prepare. I did that. Usually, it was only the people who were at the start of the line that would wear the headsets because they could start throwing the tortillas on before they even show up on the screen.
No, they basically have everyone wearing a headset.
Fair enough. Do you have do you have any riveting tales of interesting things you've heard on the headset?
Oh, dude. So there's this one slight Karen, but not to any of the staff. This mom was getting her kid some food, and the kid wasn't paying attention, and all of a sudden everybody that had headsets on all at the same time heard, "What do you want?"
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh my god, dude.
Okay,
I'm like
I'm thinking maybe it's just because I live in a smaller area than you, that because when I worked there we had the regulars, like we'd get the same people every day. And one of them would always pull up sounding like Roz from Monsters Inc. and be like, "Hi, welcome to such and such place. What can we get for you?" The 6 bean burritos, you know.
that's awesome. That's amazing. That's wow.
We had to do. Okay, I'm surprised you don't have more stories. Look, I can give you a couple.
Bro,
I can give you a couple. I can tell you about.
Okay.
We used to have a woman come up and claim that her order was messed up and that such and such manager said that she could have this one for free, and she'd always name drop a manager that worked there. Well, after a while, that manager got fired, and we finally caught her ass in a lie. She was like, "Yeah, such and such manager said I could have it for free. Sorry, she doesn't work here anymore." She got so pissed and drove off. We once had a guy threaten to block our drive-through until we remade his taco because it was wrong. You know, because he was like, "I'm gonna pull in front of your drive-through." We got cursed out. People got spat on. A lady came in one time and accused one of the workers of sleeping with her boyfriend and started climbing over the counter and trying to get at them. It is.
See, now that's the kind of shit that you would hear in Rockford.
But no, this all happened out here in. I'm telling you, I swear to God, Freeport is one of those like Silent Hill type towns where they are experimenting on us by putting shit in the water. You know what I mean? mean, like that's the only explanation for people's behavior out here.
Oh my god!
It's the only explanation. I don't understand why everyone in this town acts like an entitled asshole. I don't get it.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
oh my god!
It was crazy.
Ow!
We get prank calls all the time too. We used to get prank calls all the time too, like constantly.
Bro, we just had a couple of those the other night.
You know. Oh my god.
Yeah, no. We got a couple of those the other night, and my manager answered the phone, and she basically said something along the lines of, I have your number, I will call back and tell your parents. Or something like that.
Oh, that's funny.
They hung up real quick.
Yeah, the managers where I worked did some crazy stuff. They one of them decided that they didn't want to work at night, so they would shut the outside lights off to make people think we were closed.
What?
Yes, they would do that. People would still show up though because they knew better, but they did that
right.
shit. And then we were never supposed to do this, but because they were so on our ass about drive-through times, like they were like literally they were like totalitarian dictators about that shit with the times. Like the most important thing to them was keeping the drive-through timer under 4 minutes, and they were so toxic about it that some of the we were not supposed to do this, but they would pull people around into the parking lot after midnight and have their employees take the orders out to them.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
And it's not supposed to happen. One manager, I think, somehow got a text from some random number that she didn't recognize that was like, I think this is one of your employees, and it was one of the female workers in her underwear in a mirror selfie, and she showed it to me, and I'm like, why are you showing me this?
What?
Yeah, some crazy shit happened at this one I worked at. It was absolutely insane. Yeah, and it was crazy when I left too. From what I hear, HR came tearing down on them, and several people got fired.
Damn.
So, there's a completely new head manager there now. From when I worked there.
One of the guys that one of the guys that I know from Marco's Vapor, I've known since 2015. Yeah, because they've been open for about 9 years now. They opened in what, 2014? 2015? I forget. Well, no, I've known this guy for a long time, and my first night of on-the-job training, I'm shadowing my buddy Joe in the drive-thru, and I see him pull up to the window. I'm like, Knox, what's up?
I love how you trail off in the middle of your thought like you're having a random Vietnam flashback. Like you're like, man, he was my buddy from... You got old man syndrome already. Like, he was my buddy from the day back in the time when we did the things. Was it 1962? 63? Oh, hell, I can't remember.
You know what? I just thought about this. And I told Marco. I told Marco about the podcast, and he went and followed the page on Spotify, so he might listen to this.
Fair enough. Everyone's got their preferred listening platform. You can get the Overcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I don't know, Stitcher maybe. I don't know what. I use PodServe FM to post them all to the places. It's apparently we're on Amazon Music. I didn't know that. Or Amazon Podcasts or whatever the fuck. Yeah, what? I didn't realize. Yep, we're on there. So,
Hi, Marco. If you're listening.
So, and of course, my preferred platform, because it's the one where I actually get paid, YouTube. Of course,
Right.
the
And that's
benefit
where
to
you can
that,
also
though,
see the visuals. The visuals.
yes, YouTube is the only place that you can get the video version of the podcast complete with visuals. It's kind of like I think CinemaSins records a couple of their podcasts live on Twitch and YouTube
Do they?
simultaneously, and then they just archive them.
Nice.
Yeah, but then they also
That's
put an
awesome.
audio That's a lot of people. That's how they do it. A lot of people, they'll either live stream on Twitch, record their podcast, or they will video record it. Um, or they will like I'm actually doing it a little backwards. Most people, they do like a live video recording of themselves and then they post the audio version of that on different platforms. I'm recording an audio podcast and posting a video version of it on YouTube with
Right.
visual aids, right? Like animations and
Uh-huh.
shit. So but yeah, a lot of the people I listen to, CinemaSins, Dead Meat, um, even Fortress of Nerditude used to record live on Twitch. They don't now anymore because it's a lot of. They just got out of the habit of it after a lot of traveling on one of their end. But um, yeah, so I think it's just a lot harder to synchronize, and there's a lot more interruptions with people in the chat and stuff. So. Um, but yeah, a lot of the ones I listen to, they actually record their video, like a video version of it, and post it on YouTube, and then they take the audio from that and post it everywhere else. So,
Okay.
yep, easy peasy lemon squeezy, I guess.
Hell
um,
yeah.
I mean, I kind of do that too because I edit the video version together and then I export it into an audio file first and then I render the video version because the audio file takes like maybe 5 minutes to render, whereas the video
Uh,
version takes a couple hours. So,
Yo, I know this is really random and it's going back to the Taco Bell discussion, but bro, the one of the first things that I tried was a cheesy gordita volcano taco. So basically what I did was I took the flatbread for the cheesy gordita crunch, melted the cheese,
as one does for a
uh
gordita.
and then in place, right, yes, I in the steamer, um in place of either a Doritos Doritos taco shell or a regular taco shell, I put the volcano taco shell, the red shell, and in place of the spicy ranch,
Yes.
lava sauce. I love that shit. I still am saying they need to sell the lava sauce in stores. God damn it! It's so
Okay.
good.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you got your fill. I
I also just for the
I
first time tried the grilled cheese burritos.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of like those.
Yeah, I think those are pretty good.
It's one of those it's one of those things. I don't eat it a lot, but every once in a while I'll be in the mood for it. For me, it's way too greasy to eat all the time. You know, uh, because of the melted cheese all over it.
Okay.
Um, I do like it though. It's just very filling. It's almost like bean burrito levels of filling.
Yeah.
Um, to me, the volcano taco shell is basically like just it's the same thing as when they had the fiery Dorito shell.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, um, besides your fast food exploits, anything else interesting in the now times?
No, nothing really. I managed to find a uh scratching post for Nibbler, and I got her a laser pointer.
Ah, yes.
Late birthday present.
The
Late birthday
late
present.
birthday presents for little Nib Nib.
Yep.
Have you ever noticed that, by the way? Like, people when after they name their pets, like their dogs and cats, especially, after a while they'll start like giving them like nicknames for the names they already gave them, and then those nicknames will have nicknames, and it just makes all it just goes down the line.
Yup.
Like I've got a couple like Snuffles is also like Snuff Snuff and Snuffy Boy and and sometimes just Snuff.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it happens. Sometimes Amicia is also like Mimi and Mimi Meow and Mimi Mauser.
Yeah.
You know,
I got one other thing.
Oh, Mufasa is just Fasa.
Yeah.
Or Mufasa Fu.
I got in the mail today when it was inside the apartment today because we had the routine every 3 months we have pest control come through. I got a through the food stamps program a free tablet, and it's not.
Oh, nice.
It's not an Apple tablet. It's not an iPad. It's my dude. You know how long it's been since I've had an Android device.
You mean to tell me that the free government tablet is not $1,000 Apple tablet?
You know, I was hoping because that's what they were advertising when I applied for it.
You can always hope.
Yeah.
You can always hope. It wouldn't have been anything new, anyways. It would have been like something.
It would have been like
from,
an older iPad if it was.
Yeah, probably a refurbished one.
Yeah,
but I mean, can't complain about free.
Hell no, it's a tablet. I'm just trying.
I mean, it'll do the things.
It does.
It'll do some of the things.
It definitely does the thing, and it comes with 4G LTE for free too.
Oh well, that's not bad then.
No, not at all.
Yeah, you can watch the YouTubes and the Netflixes on it. All right then. Well, speaking of YouTube and Netflix, I feel like it's time to shift on over into that there media corner.
Yes,
what do you say,
sir?
We will not be having our jobs taken away and giving to robots. We will not allow you to take away our dignity.
All right there, everyone. Welcome to the Media Corner, the part of the show where we talk about the games, movies, TV shows, books, music, and whatever else that we've been consuming, and or some media-related news. And I have breaking news for us today. Of course, this was an article from July 13th, but the Screen Actors Guild has joined the writer's strike. So the actors are on strike now, too, and many TV shows and movies have been put off indefinitely, including Deadpool 3.
Deadpool 3.
Which
they stopped.
Is delayed.
They halted filming. Yeah, they halted filming in the middle of production. I'm not okay with that, but I guess I ain't got no choice.
But, I mean, it is for a good reason, let's be honest here, because they are standing in solidarity with the people who need to be fucking paid. And, let's see, during a press conference, the Screen Actors Guild president, Fran Drescher, said that we are being victimized by a very greedy enterprise. At some point, you have to say, no, we're not going to take this anymore. You people are crazy. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? She argued that streaming and artificial intelligence have upended the entertainment industry's business model, but she continued that their contracts haven't been updated to reflect those advancements, and that's why they're on strike. I've heard, there have been cases of companies being like, all right, so we're just going to like scan your face and then turn it into an AI, and then we'll just own your likeness for forever. So like even after you die, we can just put you in everything anyways. And they are not standing for that. Yeah. She goes on to say, if we don't stand tall right now, we are all going to be in jeopardy. You cannot change the business model as much as it has been changed and not expect the contract to change too. I cannot believe how the studios plead poverty, that they are losing money left and right when they give hundreds of millions to their CEOs. It is disgusting. Shame on them. And again, that was Fran Drescher, who is also the president of the Screen Actors Guild.
Star of The Nanny.
Yeah. So I am 100%. And of course, the Writers Guild in response said that they stand in solidarity behind their union siblings at the Screen Actors Guild as they begin their work stoppage. So it's not just writers, but it's also actors who are on strike now, which is definitely going to put a hold on a lot of things for sure. But
oh yeah, absolutely.
They have very valid reasons for doing it. I can't argue with the reasons behind it. That shit's crazy. They make a good point. The way that we consume media has changed, and thus the contracts for actors should be updated to reflect that, I believe.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of things that we could argue should technically be changed to reflect the changes in technology. Certain important historical documents, for example, but this isn't that kind of show, so we're not going to go there.
Bro. So they're just going to be running nothing but reruns on TV?
I don't know. To be honest, it's not like everything is done right, because so the new season of Sunny came out just in time for this all to start, so it's still going. And okay. I read something today that season 2 of The Last of Us is probably still on, still on schedule. So it's not like every actor in Hollywood is on strike, but fucking a lot of them are. So enough for it to be noticeable and impactful to the industry as a whole. So
I don't.
This is more serious now because before it was just writers and they were probably like, we can hire new writers, but now it's actors too, and that's the bread and butter of Hollywood. So now they're gonna start paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if these guys necessarily count as part of the writers' strike, because WWE has their own writers and they are able to write where I saw a clip from an interview earlier today from one of my favorite wrestlers, Seth Rollins. He was talking about how Game of Thrones over time has all of this character development and just storylines, but that takes course over a few years, whereas WWE, their writers are able to push out new stories weekly.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Oh my gosh! And
the South Park writers,
right? No, they're able to push out material for the ongoing storylines weekly, and it's incredible the way they're able to do it. And it's fucking awesome. There is one thing that I wanted to talk about that I actually got a notification on my phone for. It says reserve your tickets in select IMAX theaters. PlayStation Plus members early access. Buy tickets for early access shows of the Gran Turismo movie.
Oh yeah,
In
I got
select
that
IMAX
notification
theaters
too.
on August. Yeah, dude. And I looked. There's not a damn theater anywhere near us that is participating in this. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I'm gonna have to teach you how to do a segue, by the way, because that that was a very abrupt switch. It was like, yeah, so
Yeah.
wrestling, and by the way, Gran Turismo. Oh shit! Oh man, I was like, wait, we were just talking about redneck ballet, and you went straight into.
I'm fucking dead. Hell no. Oh no.
And you
Hell
went,
no.
you went straight into Gran Turismo. Oh my god. Okay. But yeah, so that's shit. I don't know how we got here, but yeah, we were talking about the thing and all that. But anyway, since you were talking about wrestling, I think you told me earlier what one of your things was going to be today. So why don't you transition into that?
Yeah. Let's transition into that. Yeah. Let's transition. So
yeah, it's topical.
yeah, right, exactly. Fucking okay. So my thing is today my most anticipated DLC for WWE 2K23 dropped today. Revel with Wyatt, and it contains one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. I've been following him since he was the Eater of Worlds back when he had his the Wyatt family.
Galactus?
And no, Bray Wyatt.
Oh, you said the Eater of Worlds. Sorry.
Eater of Worlds was his gimmick.
Yes, Eater of Worlds is the giant supervillain from the X-Men comics, Galactus.
Gotcha.
He literally
Okay.
eats planets.
Gotcha. Okay.
It took like every Marvel hero in existence to take him down. He's the final boss of Lego Marvel superheroes.
Oh shit. Oh yeah, that's right. He is. I played Lego Marvel Superheroes.
But do go on.
But no, Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, yes, and I got so excited because he wasn't in the last game. Because he got released from his contract and they brought him back. But I still, to this day, my favorite Bray Wyatt gimmick has got to be the Fiend. It's just badass looking. I mean, I have a backpack of the mask. I have the actual replica Fiend mask. Yeah.
When you think about it,
it's
isn't trading, isn't like, you know how like they trade sports players, like teams will trade players, or they'll like buy their contracts and shit like that. When you think about it, isn't that just human trafficking with extra steps?
I mean,
You know,
you're not wrong.
not to diminish the real struggles, but you know, we do a little dark humor every now and then on Oversoul Gaming.
Yeah.
And also, sports are a mystery to me, so I make silly jokes about them.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm that kind
Only
of nerd.
WWE does something. Only WWE does something a little different. Basically, when they have their draft season, not necessarily draft season, but it's yeah, it would be draft season. The
Beer
WWE
season.
draft, basically, they that they they trade superstars between Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. And they move them to different shows, and they're designated to that show. And they stay on that show. Yeah.
I see.
There's even been times where, when they had the WWE draft, where they would call up some of the up and coming wrestlers that are in NXT, so that they can get their big break on the main roster. 9 times out of 10, though, like, whenever an NXT superstar comes from NXT, they're doing fucking fantastic in NXT. Their storylines are fucking booming. But as soon as they get to the main roster, they're being overshadowed by the bigger the bigger names that are current and their storylines. They're not getting enough TV time like they were on NXT. So they basically get shat on. And 9 times out of 10 their gimmicks change and it sucks. It's very rare that I have seen a superstar come out of NXT and they actually have really good storylines. But it's a hit or miss. It really is.
You know who my favorite wrestler is?
Who?
Danny DeVito as the trash man from that episode of Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes! Yes, fuck yes.
I'm the
yes.
trash man. I came here to take out the trash. And then he just, like, smacks D upside the head with the chair. Oh, my God. Yes. That show ain't right.
That shit. It's fucking hilarious, bro. I need to get back on that shit.
Oh, but the new season's been great, but, shit. I'm not going to talk about that today on my media corner, though. I'll probably talk about it when the season's over, give my full thoughts. I like to do a full season review instead of
hell yeah
every episode. Same for Secret Invasion. I'll probably talk about Secret Invasion in the next episode after the finale. But yeah, it's a good update there. Yeah, me and sports have never gotten along. I'm the kind of guy when the Super Bowl is coming, I'm always like, oh boy, it's sports ball time again. Shit. Can't wait to see the commercials.
Right? That's the whole reason I watch. I'm not really into football unless the Bears are playing.
Fair enough. But speaking of balls, the Emmys are coming soon.
Yep.
That's a thing that's about to happen. I don't, I kind of wish it was the Golden Globes because then that transition would have made more sense.
It would have.
But the Emmys, they're holding up a little ball on the statue, kind of. It's like a wire frame thing, but yeah, it's not solid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. But anyways.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The thing I want to draw the most attention to here about the Emmys is the fact that the HBO live-action adaptation of The Last of Us it was nominated for 24 Emmys altogether. 24!
Damn!
Emmys. And these Emmys are Outstanding Directing for a Drama Series, Outstanding Drama Series, Outstanding Picture Editing for a Drama Series, Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or Drama, Outstanding Contemporary Hairstyling, Outstanding Sound Mixing for a Comedy or Drama, Outstanding Main Title Design, Outstanding Special Visual Effects in a Season or a Movie, Outstanding Contemporary Makeup, non-prosthetic, Outstanding Writing for a Drama Series, Outstanding Prosthetic Makeup, which, the clickers, Outstanding music composition for a series, and then here's the juicy bits. Outstanding lead actor, Pedro Pascal. Outstanding lead lead actress, Bella Ramsey. Outstanding.
She was.
Oh, go ahead.
She and Pedro Pascal were both in Game of Thrones.
Yes, yes, and he's also the Mandalorian.
Yes.
And she's been in um fuck, what was she in recently? Oh, a VR commercial for a PlayStation game, actually.
Nice.
Yep. And then there's more. Outstanding guest actor in a drama series for Murray Barley, who played Frank. Outstanding guest actor in a drama series for Lamar Johnson, who plays Henry. Also, Nick Offerman as Bill. Also, Kevon Montreal as Sam, who is the first deaf black young actor to get an Emmy nomination.
Okay.
Outstanding production design for a narrative contemporary program. Outstanding guest actress for Melanie Linsky as Kathleen. Outstanding casting. Another guest actress won for Storm Reed as Riley. You'll see her in episode 7. Outstanding contemporary costumes for a series. And another outstanding guest actress for Anna Torv as Tess. And that is all the nominations that The Last of Us got, which is a lot of Emmy nominations.
Yeah.
But there is, I just want to take a quick peek at, like, I'm not going to go through the whole list or nothing, but I just want to see what other things got nominated for different stuff. So, like I said, The Last of Us is up for Best Drama Series, but it's up against Andor, Better Call Saul, The Crown, House of the Dragon, Succession, The White Lotus, and Yellow Jackets.
Oof.
Yeah, so it's got some stiff competition. Barry is up for Best Comedy. So is The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Only Murders in the Building, and Abbott Elementary. Oh, and a new show called The Bear, and Ted Lasso, and Wednesday are all up for Best Comedy.
Have you watched Only Murders in the Building?
I have not yet.
Definitely worth a watch. Such a good show.
Let's see who Pedro Pascal is up against as lead actor. He's up against Jeff Bridges, Brian Cox, Kieran Culkin, Bob Odenkirk, and Jeremy Strong.
Okay.
Bob Odenkirk is Better Call Saul. Jeff Bridges is in a show called The Old Man. And Bella Ramsey is up against Sharon Horgan from Bad Sisters, Melanie Linsky from Yellow Jackets, Elizabeth Moss from The Handmaid's Tale, Kerry Russell from The Diplomat, and Sarah Snook from Succession. Holy shit. Sarah Snook from Succession. Try saying that 5 times fast. Oh. Bill Hader's up for lead actor in a comedy. So is Jason Segel.
What?
Yeah, for Barry.
Oh, yeah. That's right. The HBO show.
And other SNL alum Jason Sudeikis is up for Ted Lasso. And Martin Short's up for Only Murders.
Nice. Hell yeah.
And lead actress, Christina Applegate for Dead to Me, Rachel Bronson for The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Quinta Brunson for Abbott Elementary, Natasha Lyonne for Poker Face, and Jenna Ortega for Wednesday. They're all up.
Nice.
Yep. And movies, too. Those are all TV shows. Let's see. Yeah, limited series and movies. They've got all kinds of stuff. Supporting actors. Yeah. So those were some of the important ones. If you want to know the whole list, you just Google Emmy nominations and they'll be on there. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time trying to figure out who I think is going to win some of those, because that's a tough competition.
Right? No, that is definitely some tough competition.
The Last of Us is 100% going home with some awards, though. They're not going home empty-handed. They're getting something for sure.
Hell no, they definitely are.
Yeah, there's definitely something. Definitely something coming out of that. So, all right.
Absolutely.
You got anything else? Any other news or recommends?
You know what I just started rewatching today? Here's a throwback for you. The Tester season 3.
Oh,
That was the one that had that was Asuka 424
yep. Nicole, we've met her.
from yeah. She was cool as hell. And that was a season that Ego Raptor was on too.
Yep. Oh man, yeah, he didn't last long, but he was a fan vote anyways. To be fair though, that's back when Ego Raptor was more cringy. He's completely mellowed out now. Not completely, but he's got this relationship with his new co-host on Game Grumps, Dan. Ever since they did Starbomb together, they kind of just, Dan replaced JonTron after JonTron was revealed to be eugenics supporter.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a good thing to be. Selective breeding.
No.
Very racist.
Yeah.
And ableist, actually.
Yeah.
So it's a white supremacist mindset for sure. But
absolutely.
So basically, he got kicked off Game Grumps because duh, and then Danny Sexbang from Ninja Sex Party replaced him. And ever since then, Ego Raptor has kind of mellowed out. Ego Raptor's real name is Aaron Hansen. And he's kind of mellowed out a little bit. He's still the side of the thing that's like dirty jokes and goofy shit. And it's because he's younger than Dan. Dan's older. Dan's like in his like late 30s, almost 40s, and Aaron is like, I want to say like late 20s, early 30s. So there's a bit of a maturity gap there. And so Aaron does all the fart jokes and the poop jokes and the toilet humor, and then Dan is like singing. So he has to rein him in sometimes. He has to tell him when enough is enough. He'd be like, "Okay, Aaron, stop, enough," and you'll hear it in the recordings. It's pretty hilarious. So it's almost like he's his handler in a way. And what's funny about it, to me, is that it reminds me of the relationship between Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon on Rick and Morty. It's like when Justin Roiland is allowed to go out on his own and do things, he gets way too crazy with it. Like all of the games that he's made and shit he does on his own, it's just wild. Dan Harmon has a way of kind of like reining him in and keeping him grounded and, keeping the story structure going. So, yeah. But that is... so what are you thinking of your rewatch of The Tester? Because that is a hell of a throwback.
Bro, I made it almost through the end of episode 1 before I needed to go out and run some errands today.
Oh, okay. So you just started rewatching it.
Yeah,
Okay. So not a whole lot to go off of yet, but I remember it being I mean, we've seen it before, so you can still talk about it. I remember it being a reality show where they just got voted off.
Yeah,
they didn't do the challenges.
It was a fun reality show.
Yeah, one of the few I ever actually liked.
That was right around when the PS Vita was coming out.
Before that, actually, because I downloaded and watched The Tester on my PS3, like back in like 2012. They used to release episodes of it on the PlayStation Store. You could just download and watch them directly on your PS3. And
oh, dude, I still have all of the episodes from season 3.
And what's crazy is that they actually so that's how you're rewatching it, because I'm gonna say that shit's hard to find now, but
but they discontinued the PlayStation Video Store.
Right. There is a different thing, I think. I'm not sure. I think some of your old purchases still stay, though. But
yeah.
But I also remember that was around the time they used to have this like digital magazine on PlayStation called Core. It was Qore or something like that, and they would advertise the Tester in it, and you could like download the episodes directly from it. Each of those magazines, I downloaded them. I never really read them, but I'd skim through them because at the end they would always have like a free wallpaper or some shit you could download, or like a game demo or something. I can't remember exactly what they all were, but man, I miss PlayStation Home. They're bringing that back, trying to anyway.
PlayStation Home?
Yeah, it was like yeah, it was like the app on the PS3 that was kind of like Second Life, but without the nudity, But it was all like video game locations.
I remember that. Yeah.
And you had like an avatar. You could like play mini games at these locations and like earn new shit for your avatar, or you could just actually outright purchase it and stuff too.
They upped their game with Astro's Playworld though. Astro's Playroom.
Oh, that's not even remotely the same kind of thing, though. But that game is really good. It's really good for a free game because it's basically a tour of the PS5. It gives you like a tour of basically all the important, like you're going through the GPU, the cooling system. That's what the ice level is. All that shit. And it's got like an ass load of PlayStation Easter eggs in it, and it teaches you all about the new controller. And it's one of the easiest platinums I've ever got too. On top of it, it's like the perfect introduction game.
Bro, I'm stuck on the level that you unlock. Where you go to fight the dinosaurs.
Oh, okay.
I'm stuck on that.
Well, on the note of PlayStation games and PlayStation Easter eggs and all things PlayStation, Limited Run Games, which is a game company that's known for like releasing limited physical versions of popular digital games like Undertale, for example. They're called limited run games because these physical copies only come out for a limited run. So, if you don't get them while they're there, then they're gone and you don't get them. If you want a physical copy, I mean. But they've introduced a new game engine called the Carbon Engine, and they're using it to remaster old PlayStation games and put them out on modern consoles.
Nice.
So at this showcase that they had recently, what they showed off is that they're remastering the entire Gex trilogy, which is kind of a huge deal because that's that was it was a cult classic platformer. On the first one was a 2D side scroller, but Gex 2 and Gex 3 Enter the Gecko were both. They were like 3D platformers where the gimmick was like he was like jumping into different TV shows and stuff, and he would run around and say random lines from movies and stuff when he was standing idle, like, "You can't have your pudding until you eat your meat," and shit like that, But I was gonna say, yeah, and like you're going through these different worlds based off different like movie and TV genres, and you're trying to collect these remotes and stuff like that, and you're going after like the evil emperor guy, and it's just that whole kind of thing. And you attack with your tail. He's got an attack called the tail whip, and like he eats fireflies to regain health, and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. I played it a lot as a kid. Obviously some of the jokes went over my head back then, but I do think that these games are part of the reason why I'm so like into pop culture these days, because this was a very pop culture heavy game. Like the man's constantly spouting one-liners from different movies and shit.
Nice.
He's like one of those genie type characters that they just like every joke they say was stolen from something else. or like they're doing impressions of celebrities or shit like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I really enjoyed those games, but it's not only Gex, they're also remastering Tomba, which I talked about on our Hidden Gems episode, I believe, which was the
yeah, you did.
The one about the pink-haired kid in the loincloth that is fighting the pigs.
Yeah.
So that's getting a remaster, and then Clock Tower, which is one of the original horror games, which I think originally only released in Japan, the PlayStation version anyways. There was a PC version out here, but the PlayStation version is getting a full remaster and translation and being released as well. And that's like a point-and-click adventure horror game where you're trying to like solve puzzles and move around and stuff, but the whole time you're being hunted by a madman with a giant pair of scissors, walking around the place. Yeah. So, but it's like it looks like an old PC game. It's not like in first person or anything. It's like you click on the thing and the character walks over there, that kind of thing. So it's like that, and then you got like an inventory at the bottom. It's like one of those old Nancy Drew games. If you were like in danger of being killed the whole time,
Fair.
So, something like that. So yeah, limited run games, making those. I'm looking forward to these remasters, especially Gex and Tomba. I'm gonna be all over that as soon as the opportunity arises. So,
right.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Anything else you've watched or played recently?
Yeah. No. Okay. So yeah, I recently listened to a podcast.
You mean besides this one?
Oh yeah. Besides this one, called Fortress of Nerditude. Hi Ryan.
I might be familiar with it.
Yeah. Oh, I know you are, because he read one of your emails.
Oh yes.
Mentioned you actually a couple of times in the episode.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, no, I don't know Spencer, but I enjoyed your stories too, Spencer. They were very entertaining.
Yeah, you'll there's always a an update like that. All right, so how'd you like the episode overall? I'm guessing you listened to the one where they talked about like movies based on toys.
Yeah. Oh, one of the stories Spencer was telling about his kids. They went to wizarding camp, and kids were sorted into the houses.
The big cool. Potterheads, that family.
Yeah.
Nice. I thought it was very entertaining listening to all these ideas for for movies
and
as well.
Corporate band.
The corporate band. Yeah, that's
I think honestly I agree with Spencer. They should go all out with it and just have fun with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can't wait to hear other people's answers in tomorrow's episode, which tomorrow at the time of recording this, of course, for the movies based on toys. I'm sure there's going to be some creative answers.
Oh, absolutely. I know you already have one in there.
Yes, I put in one for Hungry Hippos horror movie, but specifically a B-movie creature feature in the vein of Anaconda or Lake Placid. That kind of shit.
I could honestly see something like that happening.
I'm surprised it hasn't been. To be truthful,
I mean, they're like Ryan and Spencer were telling me, they got the Barbie movie coming out, and then they're going right to fucking Barney, and it's for adults.
And Hot Wheels, a J.J. Abrams Hot Wheels movie.
Yeah, that why?
That is something.
Why is that a thing?
Well,
I mean,
my thing is, why does it be? I mean, it's just going to be like any other racing movie, right? At that point. But directed by the guy who likes lens flare. So
that's perfect for him, because he can make
bring
the wheels do.
Bring your sunglasses to this one.
Right.
Yes. Oh my God! They'll make the wheels do the fire thing. He said.
Yep.
Do you get it? Because it's Hot Wheels. The wheels are hot. You see, because they're burning rubber.
It's literally.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's something. No, I enjoy listening to that every week. They have some spicy takes. Sometimes I will say that.
I'm gonna start listening more, because that was really good. I liked it.
Oh yeah. It's it's a hell of a banter. Sometimes it's Ryan's not there and it's just Spencer because of other obligations and conflicting schedules. But most of the time, it's the two of them.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's a nice little shout out, nice little recommendation, and they talk about video games a lot over there too, especially Zelda.
Hell yeah.
And Pokemon. So, and
I know
Zelda,
he talked. I know Ryan talked about how your sister Carissa was playing the she was playing God of War or watching watching a playthrough. She was watching a playthrough.
Jacksepticeye's Let's Play, to be exact.
Yeah.
So yeah, she watched my playthrough of The Devil in Me, and she really enjoyed that.
I bet. From what I've watched of it so far, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I need to finish it. I'm slacking.
You're gonna.
I'm trying to get
once people start dying in that thing, you're gonna be really invested. Trust me, because it gets after the first death, it just is a roller coaster from there. So.
Yeah. I'm trying to get through Game of Thrones, and then I'm gonna probably go in and finish that.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's. I tend to be a dabbler myself. I tend to jump around between things randomly every so often, especially video games. I'll sit there and dabble in a couple hours of like several different games, and then once I find something I really like, I'll just hyper focus on that for several days until I finish it, and then I'll go back to dabbling.
Fair.
That's what I do. That's why I have shit like Game Pass. I like to try a bunch of different things. I'm like, I'll play a little of this, a little of that. I'm not really feeling this right now, so I'll switch to this, that kind of thing. That's one of the reasons I do Let's Plays, to force myself to actually finish these damn games.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Yeah, and then I end up doing recordings of games I've already played before anyway, so not always, but sometimes. But Amnesia the Bunker was a very short game, so that was an easy bite there. So, but yeah, they tend to talk about Pokemon and Zelda a lot on the Fortress of Nerditude, and Pokemon and Zelda, I would argue, are among some of the most popular games in gaming history. So I think
hell yeah,
that's a good excuse for us to transition over to this episode's topic, which is going to be the best games of every console generation. Alrighty there, everyone. Welcome to this episode's topic of discussion, which is this time going to be all about every video gaming generation that has come to pass from the beginning of games until now, and the best, not only the best, but our favorite games from those generations, and then, of course, what we believe the general public believes to be the best games. What are the most successful, most critically acclaimed, well-recepted games of those generations. I think we're gonna try to narrow it down to like 3 for each thing. But I will say, I'm gonna go ahead and skip the first generation of gaming because the only thing of note that came out back then was the Magnavox Odyssey and the original Pong. Which is kind of a big thing. But when you skip ahead to the second generation, this is 1976 to 1992, this is when we got the Atari 2600 and the ColecoVision. So it is definitely worth mentioning because the Atari 2600 was a big deal back then. So the The Atari 2600 had games on it that are very popular to this day, such as Asteroids. Dig Dug was on it. I believe the original Pac-Man was on the Atari 2600. I think we can all agree that those are very major entries in gaming history, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, those were. I mean, there were plenty more on the Atari 2600, but I would argue that Dig Dug, Pac-Man, and Asteroids were probably the major entries for that console.
Yes.
By a large margin. They were also very popular in the arcades, too.
Yeah, I played Dig Dug in the arcade. I played, what were the other two?
Pac-Man and Asteroids.
Yes. I've played all three of those.
Oh,
Dig Dug.
Break. Sorry. Go ahead.
Dig Dug. I would have to say I played more than Pac-Man or
Asteroids.
Asteroids. Yes.
What about Breakout? I guess that was a
Breakout.
that was a
Wasn't
arcade
that
game.
The Brick Breaker game?
Yep, that was the original. With the ball that bounces off the paddle and breaks the bricks.
Oh,
that was also on the Atari 2600.
I loved that shit. That game was. And when did Tetris come out? Because that's still a thing today, and everybody they've got different terms for it. Not terms.
I think I don't think we're there yet. I think the original Tetris was on the original Game Boy.
Okay.
And I'm just looking here. It looks like Missile Command was also on the Atari 2600. A lot of the games that were on it were basically ports of arcade games. They got ported, like games that you could only play at the arcade. Normally, you could now play on your home console with the Atari 2600. That was the whole selling point, They also had the Intellivision and the ColecoVision, where also I don't know if you ever saw an Intellivision, but it looks like an old VCR with a wired remote, and the controller looks like an actual TV remote. It's crazy.
For which one?
The Intellivision.
No.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain that one. It was released by Mattel in 1978, and the word meant intelligent television. It was the main competitor of the Atari 2600, and
okay.
I think it kind of basically had a lot of the same games. It was like the early Nintendo versus Sega thing. This was like the original, It was Atari versus Intellivision. And then they also had the ColecoVision, which was basically a upgraded color version of the Intellivision.
Okay.
So that's all that really was. So yeah, that was the second generation, which obviously hands down the Atari 2600 dominated that generation. No questions asked. But then we move on to the third generation, which is where things get really interesting, because this is when the original Nintendo comes into play. So we're talking original Mario, Duck Hunt, that kind of stuff, but
Duck Hunt.
Also, the upgraded Atari, the 7800. So, let's start with the original Nintendo / Famicom first.
Yes.
Let's see. Off the top of your head, what games do you remember from the original Nintendo?
See, I didn't have the luxury of getting the original Super Nintendo. But I have seen some of the Nintendo games from the original Nintendo. I have actually played Duck Hunt. Duck Hunt, by far, even though I love Mario, love you, Mario, but you're coming in second on this one.
Fair enough.
Duck Hunt was my shit.
And this
They had some.
this was the console that the original Super Mario Brothers was released on, no doubt.
Yes.
You know what else
Mario's
came
been
out?
around for a long time.
You know what else came out on this original Nintendo is the DuckTales game.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Also, the very, very first Final Fantasy that they ever made was released on this system as well, and it was the game that saved Square from bankruptcy.
Square Enix.
Yep.
Yeah.
Squaresoft back then, or just Square, I think, originally.
Yeah. Maybe.
Excite Bike, that was a Nintendo game, original Nintendo game.
Excite Bike, was it?
Yeah, Excite Bike. That was the one where it's like a BMX thing with jumps and stuff, but it was like old, pixel graphics, obviously. Oh, there was a Friday the 13th game on the original Nintendo. I forgot that. It's notorious for being one of the worst games ever made, but it was on there. An early Atlas project.
It's still a bad game.
It's an early Atlas project, which is crazy because they're the ones that are behind the Persona games these days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. Duck Hunt's definitely up there. I do remember playing original Nintendo a bit. I remember the original Mario being like the one where you're like just in the room of pipes with the monsters and the POW block, and you have to. But that was part of it. But then there was also like the regular gameplay part too. Oh, the original Aladdin game was on this Nintendo. I think they re-released it for the Super Nintendo.
Sega Genesis. They had it for Sega Genesis too. I had that, and I had the Lion King. I think. Yeah, I had the Lion King and.
They made 3 Back to the Future games on the original Nintendo.
Nice.
The very first Bard's Tale. Wow, they had a Batman game and Batman Return of Joker. That's crazy. I didn't know the original Nintendo had this many games, to be honest. Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle, Felix the Cat.
I did. Felix the Cat. No.
Gauntlet.
I heard about the Bugs Bunny game. I never played it, but I heard a lot about it.
Ghosts and Goblins, the original Dark Souls, if you ask me, one of the most notoriously hard games on the Sega and Nintendo. That was the game where you played as like that Sir Arthur Knight guy, and if you got hit, you lost your armor and had to run around in your boxers, and if you got hit again, you died.
Yeah.
It was so hard. Wow. There was a Goonies game.
Was there?
Yeah. So Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and the Temple of Doom, they both had Nintendo games, original Nintendo. That was packed. There was a Jurassic Park game, a Karate Kid game.
Nice.
This is when gaming really kicked off and kind of started going into the like licensed stuff. The original Legend of Zelda. How could I forget that? Obviously.
Bruh. Really?
Yeah. So I would argue, I don't know about my favorites. Oh, here's the Lion King. You mentioned that. So I don't know about, and there's a Little Mermaid game too.
I never had that one.
And the Lone Ranger, but this was way before the Disney movie.
Yeah.
Mad Max. Okay, so before Maniac Mansion, yeah, and then Mario Bros. And Metroid, the original Metroid too. You can't forget about that.
Yup. Nope.
That's a big one, very big one. Mickey Mouse Capade. Okay, so I would argue that probably, Metroid is big, Zelda is, I would argue that probably the 3 biggest games on the original Nintendo, though, and probably the most memorable when you think of original Nintendo, is probably Mario, Zelda, and Duck Hunt. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that'd probably be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because
You hit it
Metroid's
dead on the
popular
nail.
too, but I would say not as popular as the other ones. They're more like mainstream. Metroid's more kind of a cult following.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still a
couple
huge
of,
Nintendo property.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely.
I was
'Cause
trying
I
to
played-
see when Kirby, the original Kirby's Adventure came out on the Nintendo as well.
How could you forget about Kirby? He's gonna suck you up and turn into you.
That makes me wonder when did the original Donkey Kong come out? I'm talking about the one where he threw the barrels at Mario. That
Came out. That was a
this,
Super
right?
Nintendo. That was a Super Nintendo.
No, we're on the original Nintendo. Yeah, here it is, Donkey Kong. Right here, Donkey Kong, original Nintendo. Yep, that's the one. I would argue that is actually up there in popularity too, and I'm not sure what I would replace it with, if I'm being honest. You know, yeah, that one's definitely up there. I'm not sure out of the three things I mentioned though, which one Donkey Kong would be considered more popular than, but I would say that game is probably the most famous game in video game history altogether.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely.
So I was going to say, the other thing in this generation, the big competition for the original Nintendo was the Atari 7800, the second Atari system. And this one, it had a lot of the same stuff before, but it also had some new things and even some sequels, as it was a sequel console. So it still had Asteroids and all that, but this was also the one that had Centipede on it, one of the arcade games that were on it.
Centipede.
It had Dig Dug again.
I played Centipede in the arcades.
It also had Donkey Kong Jr., and Mario on it as well.
Nice.
Fight Night. Galaga was on the 7800. That was a big one. Back then. And Miss Pac-Man, the sequel to Pac-Man, was on there.
Yeah.
The one with his wife, and I would say out of everything, I would say that those are probably the biggest ones that were on the Atari 7800. Would probably be, Centipede. They had Dig Dug again and all that, but yeah, Centipede, Galaga, and Miss Pac-Man were probably the major players as far as new entries, I would say, in that generation.
Yeah.
I actually remember playing a updated 3D version of Centipede on a Atari Classics Collection game on the original PlayStation.
Nice.
Yeah, they used to release those Atari Classics collections and stuff like that for those kind of things. But all right, moving on to the fourth generation, which is where a lot of the stuff that we grew up with will show up, because this is from 1987 to 2004. So this is when we had the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis, the Neo Geo, the Super Nintendo, and the Sega CD systems. So
Say, I never had the Sega CD, but I had the Sega Genesis.
And obviously Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo were the big players here.
Y'all already know I'm going to talk about Booger Man was my favorite game on Sega Genesis. That game was my shit.
You talked about him on the Hidden Gems. I remember that.
I also remember playing this. The first fighting game I ever played was on Sega Genesis, and it was Play Fighters.
Oh yeah, you talked about that one too.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did. You talked about that one too on your Hidden Gems, I believe.
Sure did. Yeah, no, That was that was the first fighting game I ever played.
I have a lot of memories with the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. But I will say, one of the most obscure platformers I ever played on the Sega Genesis that I still remember to this day was called Arrow the Acrobat.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was one of my favorites, I would say, but it was basically like all the levels were like circus based, and he was a bat. He was an actual bat, but he did yeah.
Okay. I had a lot of.
So that was.
I had a lot of Sega games. I just don't. I don't remember all of the games I had. I only remember specific ones. Like I know I had Aladdin.
Don't remember all the shovelware, huh?
No, dude, bruh. I only remember Clay Fighters. If it wasn't for the fact that that's actually where my love for fighting games came from. My mom bought the game, but would only let us play it for like short amounts of time because she thought it was too violent. Then why the fuck would you buy
it? Fair enough.
Why would you buy it?
Do you remember Toe Jam and Earl?
Oh, yes! Toe Jam and Earl. Yes, I that was one of the games I had. I loved Toe Jam and Earl. Loved it.
Yep, they had games on the Sega and Nintendo. And in fact, I kind of remember there was this I had on the Sega, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a painting game. They gave you like different environments where you could like draw things and stuff, but it also had stickers that you could put and they would be like animated moving around. And some of those stickers were like different like Sega characters from different games like Sonic and Tails or Toe Jam and Earl. And I can't for the life of me remember what the damn
did I forget about Sonic?
Game was called anymore.
How the fuck
how
the fuck did I forget about Sonic? I mean, I know.
Of course we were gonna talk about Sonic with the Sega.
For fucking Sonic for Hire.
Right.
Oh man, no shit.
But yeah, I played all of them.
Dude,
Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic and Knuckles. I even played Sonic Spinball, Sonic 3D Blast, the one where he's collecting the little birds. I played Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine as well.
I had Sonic 3D for Sega Genesis. That game was ahead of its time.
It was but it has not aged well. You try to play it now.
No, it really hasn't. No. That game was definitely ahead of its time, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would definitely argue... My strongest argument would obviously be that Sonic is probably the most popular thing to come out of the Sega. So, there's that.
Bro, there's kids... There's kids today that absolutely love Sonic the Hedgehog. Like I'll be sitting
still
here
kicking, still making games.
Hell yeah! Like I'll be sitting here watching Sonic the Sonic the Hedgehog the movie, and my daughter will sit here and watch it with me. Sonic 2, she'll sit here and watch it with me. She fucking loves Sonic. She even found a Sonic the Hedgehog show on Netflix that I didn't even know existed until she showed it to me, and it's called Sonic Prime. They just put out they just put out season 2. Like, bro, this shit's I would have to say Sonic the Hedgehog sits at number 1, rightfully so.
For the Sega, for sure, and then
oh, absolutely.
So you mentioned fighting games, and I'd say one of the most popular fighting games on the original Sega was Altered Beast.
Okay.
It was probably one of the biggest ones back then.
Which system had the very first Street Fighter? Was that Sega?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question. That was an arcade game. So let me see.
Because I know it eventually came to. I know it was originally an arcade game, but I know it eventually came to one of the consoles.
Right. Checking now.
I swore it was Sega.
Sega had Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage. Now that you mentioned, now the fact that you said Streets of Rage, I remember two more games that I played on Sega Genesis that I absolutely fucking loved. Road Rash and Road Rash 2.
Okay. I'm going to assume that the original Street Fighter might have came out on the original Nintendo because Sega had Street Fighter 2.
Okay.
Or something like that. But yeah, from what I'm seeing, Street Fighter 2 Special Championship Edition was a Sega Genesis game.
Okay.
They had some original Spider-Man games, too.
Nice.
Splatterhouse 2 and 3 were on there as well. There was a couple of Simpsons games.
Didn't Simpsons,
Shining Force?
It wasn't the Simpsons taxi game.
Oh, Simpsons Hit and Run, that's much later. That's a PS2 game.
Okay.
Yep. This is we're still in the pixel era here for the most part. But okay, yeah, I would make an argument for Sonic, maybe even Toe Jam and Earl being up there in popularity for original Sega.
Okay.
Sega Genesis. But who else besides Sonic and them? What was a real big one? Oh, Mortal Kombat.
There you go.
Mortal Kombat
How could
1,
you
2,
forget
and
about
3.
Mortal Kombat? Get over here!
Yeah, they were all on the original Sega Genesis as well. Yeah, I don't know what my favorites were on there. To be honest, I played mostly Sonic games on that one.
Yeah.
But I definitely
I played a little bit of a lot. I played a few games. Road Rage was like you're on motorcycles and you try to take out the people that are racing alongside of you with weapons and by kicking them.
That was on the Genesis?
That was on the Genesis. It was on the Sega. Yeah, Road Rage 1 and 2.
Okay. Well, and of course the Sega Genesis competitor during this time was the Super Nintendo, which is where most of the games I remember from this era came from. This is where we had Super Mario World. We had the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which was a huge one. We had Donkey Kong Country, 3 of those. There were also Mortal Kombat games here, among a plethora of other things, more Kirby games, more all kinds of shit. There was like a Mario Superstars collection that had like all of the original games from the original Nintendo on the yeah.
I remember I didn't play Road Rash or Road Rash 2 at my house. My Aunt Sherry was a foster parent, and my foster cousin, I just call him my foster cousin because that's what he was at the time, basically. My foster cousin had it on his Sega Genesis, and I played it with him when we were kids. And then I prompted my mom Mom, can you give me Road Rash 2?
Of course.
And she caved and she bought it.
Okay, so Breath of Fire 1 and 2, the original Breath of Fire games came out on the Super Nintendo, so that's another one
Yep.
worth I remember. There was More Final Fantasy games on the Super Nintendo as well. Yeah, I want to say, yeah, so this is where it got confusing because out here in Japan they were way ahead of us in numbers on those games, and we never got the original versions of 2 and 3 out here properly. So for us,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 2 was actually Final Fantasy 4, and Final Fantasy 3 was actually 6. They
Okay.
kind of
Damn.
fucked it up. They've gone back and fixed it now, but that's what they were then. So we actually got 4 and 6 out here, and then we got 5, and then Mystic Quest as well.
Yeah.
Final Fight was another Capcom thing. Fire Emblem, of course. This is where Fire Emblem got their start.
Heard of? Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's a Nintendo exclusive, like, tactics strategy game.
Yeah.
Yep. There was a Frogger game on the Super Nintendo
Oh shit.
as well.
Frogger? I've played
Yeah.
Frogger in real life.
Galaxy Wars, and all kinds of crazy shit. So, obviously,
Story
I
for
think
another
it's
day, though.
I'm trying to see what other. I know there was another Metroid game on here, so I'm just trying to see what it was. It was Super Metroid, I want to say. Yeah, Super Metroid was the Super Nintendo one.
Okay.
And then Kirby's Dream Land, I think, was also on this one. So,
okay.
this is, when we were still in the pixel era, but things are starting to look a little bit better. And play a little bit better, too. So,
Yeah.
I would say for sure, probably one of the most popular games of all time on the Super Nintendo would have to be Super Mario World, and it also ranks among one of my favorites as well. That's the one where you get to ride Yoshi and you can have a player 2 Luigi.
Hell yeah.
And you go to all the different castles, taking down the Koopa Kids one at a time until you reach Bowser. And there's like
See,
the map.
that's why I want to get a Nintendo Switch, because they have that membership where you can get all of the old school Nintendo games, and they've even got a fucking Sega category on there too, where they've got Earthworm Jim and Toe Jam and Earl.
Oh,
I'm like, that's
Earthworm
enough to
Jim.
sell. That's enough to
I almost
sell.
forgot about him.
Yeah, Earthworm Jim. Yup, that was another big one.
Yeah, that's
I
the
hear they're
generation
making
we're in now.
I hear they're making another Earthworm Jim.
That's crazy.
Like, oh man, dude, you know how much it has me sold just on the nostalgia factor.
I'd be down for it.
Hell
we had a lot of sports games back on these consoles, like some NHL and Madden and stuff like that. Originals
I hear they're
as well.
I hear they're also doing another Toe Jam and Earl game too.
That would be cool.
Hell yeah. They could do so much more with it now.
So, yeah, I would definitely argue Super Mario World and probably Donkey Kong Country I would put up there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, and Super Mario Kart was also on this
Mario
system.
Kart? Okay.
Can't forget that.
Nice.
That was some of the original Mario Karting.
Fucking Rainbow Road.
And of course, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past as well. So, yeah. I would. What would you say? Those games probably rank among the highest on the Super Nintendo charts.
Anything with Mario's name attached to it, yes.
Yeah, fair enough. That's
Anything with Mario's name attached to it, yes. Mario did for the Nintendo what Sonic did for the Genesis, the Sega Genesis.
Right. So now we're in the 5th generation. This is where I can really start going nuts, because this is where we had the Atari Jaguar, the Sega Saturn, the original PlayStation, and the Nintendo 64.
Okay, so out of all of these, I didn't own a single one. No, I didn't get I wanted a PlayStation. but I never got one. I wanted a Nintendo 64, but I never got one. I wanted a Sega Saturn, but I never got one. We would go to fucking Toys R Us, and I would always see the goddamn Sega Saturn sitting there staring at me. I'm like, Mom, I fucking want it. Please. No, we didn't have the money.
And if only you knew not much longer, there would be a better system called the Dreamcast.
Bro, I wanted the Dreamcast too. I never got it.
Yeah, you didn't miss much on the Sega
Genesis.
Saturn.
Yeah. No, maybe it was the Dreamcast that I saw at Toys R Us. It was the Dreamcast.
What I can talk about
that's the one that has the controller that has like the hole in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that was the Dreamcast then. Yep, that's the one that was staring me at. I don't even remember the Saturn. What was the Saturn?
The Sega Saturn was it was kind of like an upgrade of the Sega CD, I want to say. It had a slot for discs and cartridges.
Okay. See, I didn't even know the Sega CD even existed.
Oh yeah, that's where Sonic CD was released.
Completely missed that one.
So
I spent most of my childhood with my Sega Genesis, and the system that replaced the Sega Genesis was the PlayStation 2. But we can talk about that when we get to the next generation.
Oh yeah. So to be fair, the things I would talk about the most from this generation are obviously the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64. And the original PlayStation had so many classics. This is where it starts to get really crazy. We had, as I mentioned earlier in the media corner, games like Gex and Tomba, but we also had
now
this was where Final Fantasy VII came out, and it revolutionized the RPG genre. We also had Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon on here. You know, so many things to choose from. Twisted Metal got their start.
So,
Medieval.
Medieval, yes. While I didn't own a PlayStation 1, I have played on a PlayStation 1. I played with my cousin. May she rest in peace. I told this story at her funeral because it was one of my favorite memories that I shared. Basically, I was hanging out with my cousin at her mom's house in Kentucky when me and my brother were on spring break. We took a trip down to Kentucky, and when all of the adults were asleep in the morning because they slept in, me and my cousin snuck downstairs, and we played one of the I think it was the South Park turkeys.
Huh.
With the turkeys, and one that we that we played that was safe for us to play around the adults was the Game of Life. The Game of Life. That one was really fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is when they started putting board games on video games.
Yeah. Also, that's the system I played my first Tomb Raider game on.
Yep, Tomb Raider. The very first first 3 Tomb Raider games were on the PS1 as well.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
Parappa the Rapper. He was a big one on there.
Yep.
Bubsy had some PlayStation games. I remember
Bubsy. He was on Sega too.
Yes. Rayman had a PlayStation game.
Okay.
Worms, the first Worms game was on PlayStation.
Okay.
One of them. A lot of these were also on the Atari Jaguar. Funny enough, but Yeah, whoo, man. Uh, the original PlayStation has an extensive history of games. Not only is it going to be
yes,
hard
they
for
do.
me to, not only is it going to be hard for me to pick favorites out of this, but also deciding what is the. Okay, I think I can pick favorites. I could definitely. So, Spyro the Dragon,
Yes.
Final Fantasy 9,
Mhm.
and because out of 7, 8, and 9, I like 9 the best. So Spyro the Dragon, Final Fantasy 9, and oh shit, what would my third one be? Oh, that's a hard one. Crash Bandicoot Warped, the third one. I think
Yes.
I'll go with that one. So what would yours be from the original PlayStation that you can remember?
So, based on what my interest was back then, I would have to say the one that I had the most fun with was the Game of Life. Not even gonna lie, I know it's a board game, but based on my interests back then, the Game of Life.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Basically, not necessarily the game itself, but the memories I shared with my cousin playing it, if that makes sense.
I for some reason I've always gravitated towards some of the most popular offerings every console generation. So I played all the big shit, your Spyros, your Crashes, your Twisted Metals, your Final Fantasies, all that stuff. And
Yeah,
especially like the exclusives, you know.
The only AAA game I played for PlayStation for the first PlayStation was Tomb Raider. I don't remember
And that's a
which
big one
Tomb
too.
Raider. Yeah, it really is. I don't remember which one it was, but I played it over at my it was my childhood best friend Emilio. He lived literally 2 houses away from me. And we were in 2nd and 3rd grade together.
Nice. Was it the Tomb Raider where you can explore Croft Manor and lock the butler in the freezer?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's the second one.
I did that shit. I locked him in the freezer.
Of course. He was creepy, always following you around going, you know.
Yeah.
So, people locked him in the freezer so he'd stop following them around. And then what's funny is, in the Tomb Raider reboots, in one of them you can explore Croft Manor in a DLC, and there's actually a note you can find about how Laura used to lock the butler in the freezer when she was young.
Yeah.
Bit of a reference there, or something like that. So we've established our favorites of the generation, but now we have to decide what would have been the most popular games in the what are we arguing here? The PlayStation. Wait, we're not there. We didn't talk about the Nintendo 64 yet. Okay.
No, we didn't. Okay, so I didn't own a Nintendo 64, but I do remember going to Circuit City while my mom and dad would do their shopping, I would be in the video game section playing on the N64. And the one game that I remember specifically, I didn't get the luxury of playing any of the Mario games. But one that really stood out for me was Pokemon Coliseum.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. It would have been Stadium. You're right. Pokemon Stadium was the N64 one.
What was Coliseum?
Yep. That one was on the GameCube, I believe.
You're right. You're not wrong. Okay, yeah, I did have that on GameCube.
I also think Pokemon Snap was on the Nintendo 64.
Pokemon Snap. Yeah, I did remember hearing about that. Did we do
the picture taking one?
Did we leave out the Game Boy?
No, these are consoles, not handhelds.
Okay.
Yeah. I
mean, I would still count it as a console. It's a handheld console.
No, I mean that the list I'm looking at specifically has only listed home consoles.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, just to be clear, we're going through the every console generation, but at the end of this, we will do we will briefly go over handhelds because they don't. The list I'm looking at doesn't list handhelds under the console generations, and you'd have to cross-reference their release dates. But also, there are way less handheld systems than there are home consoles, so it would be we'll use them for a rapid fire at the end. We'll talk about the Game Boy, the PSP, all that stuff. Okay, but yeah, for the Nintendo 64, what I think of almost right away is obviously Super Mario 64, which was his first big 3D adventure where he jumps into the paintings and goes through the levels. Yoshi's Story is one I think of. That reminds me, I'm pretty sure Yoshi's Island was a Super Nintendo game. I forgot about that one. But yeah, we got Yoshi's Story, Mario Party 2, 1 and 2 and 3 actually, but Mario Party 2 is probably my favorite out of all of them because you got to wear the costumes and go to the different themed worlds. Donkey Kong 64, where you had the Donkey Kong rap in the beginning.
You know what? Here's what. I'll tell you what. DK, Donkey Kong, DK. Donkey Kong is here, alright. He's the leader of the bunch. You know him well. He's finally back to kick some tail. His coconut gun, it fires and sputs. And if he shoots you, what? It's gonna hurt. He's bigger and faster and stronger too. He's the first member of the DK crew.
And you got to play as Tiny Kong and Chunky Kong and Lanky Kong and all them, and they each had their own fruit based gun, like a pineapple bazooka or a peanut pistol, stuff like that. Banjo-Kazooie and the sequel Banjo-Tooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day. These were all N64 games.
Hell yeah.
Mario Kart 64, which is probably the first one I ever played and really got me into the series.
Right.
Man, just so many to choose from. But I definitely have to put Mario Party 2 up there as one of my favorites, and probably Mario Kart 64 as well. Third game's a hard choice for me. I mean, you brought up Pokemon Stadium and oh man, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask were both N64 games. I'm pretty sure there was a Metroid 64 or something like that. There were Kirby games, obviously. Every Nintendo system has the same, famous faces every generation.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I don't know what my third one would be for them. Oh, that's a hard choice. Maybe Donkey Kong 64? Because I did play the hell out of that game, if I'm being honest. But as far as the most popular offerings for the N64, Super Mario 64 is definitely up there. Probably the first one anyone thinks of when they think of the Nintendo 64 is that game, so... I don't know. What would you argue are some of the most I mean, we've talked about our favorites, but what do you think are the most popular PlayStation and N64 games?
Honestly, I think Spyro has to be on the top 3 for PlayStation.
Do you think Spyro's more popular than Crash Bandicoot though, among society as a whole?
Honestly, I think they're right up there on the same level.
Okay.
Me personally, I think they're on the same level based on the nostalgia portion of it.
And you mentioned Tomb Raider. I would say Lara Croft is pretty iconic.
I would argue that is on the list as well.
For sure. And of course, I would have to say Final Fantasy VII being the most popular game in the franchise and the game that revolutionized the JRPG genre is probably worth mentioning.
Yeah.
even though my favorite is 9, there's no denying how historically significant Final Fantasy VII is. It might be one of the most popular video games of all time.
Oh yeah.
Honestly. Right up there with, like, Pac-Man, you know.
And the fact that they did a fucking movie about Pac-Man. Well, not about Pac-Man, but it had Pac-Man in it. Pixel.
Oh, yeah. That was just about video
Pixels.
games in general, though.
Pixels with Adam Sandler. I want to
Yes.
watch that now. God damn it.
I will say, though, that the most I was gonna say they made a documentary type movie recently about the making of Tetris. So that was
actually, yeah, it's legitimately called, because it was on Apple TV Plus. It wasn't a documentary, it was a biopic actually.
yeah.
It is on my watch now, or up next.
Okay, so that was that original. Oh, before we move on, I remember a little PlayStation game called Kingsley where you play as a fox. It's kind of like almost like a Zelda style adventure. And the characters all talked like Animal Crossing characters with the thing, you know. So the next generation was the 6th generation, and this one is probably among the most popular because this was the Sega Dreamcast, the PlayStation 2, the Nintendo GameCube, and the original Xbox.
Okay, so I had PlayStation, GameCube, and Xbox. I had the original Xbox, I had GameCube, and I had a PS2. The launch PS2.
All right, well, do tell about all of them. In fact,
bro. Kingdom Hearts is gotta be number one on my list for PlayStation for sure. Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2, because they were both on PlayStation. They were both on PlayStation.
Yep.
PlayStation 2.
Yep, they were on PS2.
I'd have to say my favorite GameCube game. Fuck. Did I ever tell you how I got my how I got my GameCube? It's actually kind of funny.
No.
So, it was on Christmas, but it was funny because my dad, we were at my dad's house when my brother and I were unwrapping presents and shit, and we unwrapped one of the games for the system first before we unwrapped the system itself. And we looked at my dad. I'm like, you got it for the wrong system. And then the very next thing that we opened was the fucking GameCube, and we were like, oh, okay.
Of course.
Shit was
I would say
I'll never forget that shit.
Super Smash Bros. Melee is probably the most popular GameCube game.
You know the game that I unwrapped though?
What?
Star Fox.
Oh, yep, that was on there. Star Fox actually got his start on, I want to say, either the Super Nintendo or 64. We didn't mention him, but yeah, that's another Nintendo exclusive.
Star Fox was the game that I unwrapped before I unwrapped my GameCube. But I had I'll have to say, no, this was not my first wrestling game. This was, I think, my second wrestling game. I'm going to save my first wrestling game for the handhelds. Because my first wrestling game was on a handheld. I forget what game it was. And no, it was SmackDown something. Hold on. I'm going to fucking search this shit because I remember specifically it was Legends of Wrestling. Legends of Wrestling for GameCube.
Okay.
It's got Hulk Hogan on the cover.
See, now we're in the era where I shouldn't need lists anymore to be able to do this, so I'm trying to think off the top of my head. But GameCube had Luigi's Mansion. It had
Yes, they fucking did.
It had another
Yes,
Pokemon
they sure did.
Snap game. It had Metroid Prime, which was the first
had
like
Metroid
3D
Prime.
Metroid. Yeah.
I had Metroid Prime. I also played. Oh, can't forget Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Yeah, that was the first thing I mentioned.
Oh, you're not wrong. You're fair.
Mario Kart Double Dash was on there.
Okay, yeah, I never played I'm not gonna lie. The first Mario Kart game that I played was Mario Kart Wii.
Oh, fair enough. There's been a lot of them, so
There has.
Yeah, holy shit! So many GameCube games. The biggest thing for me was the PS2 during this era, though. Like you mentioned, Kingdom Hearts 2, Final Fantasy 10 and 12. This was actually the PS2 had some online capabilities. So Final Fantasy 11, which was an MMO, was playable on the PS2. If you were able to get like a NetLink cable, some of the PS2s had an Ethernet port in the back for certain games. For internet.
One of my absolute favorite GameCube games was SSX Tricky.
Oh, okay.
The snowboarding game. Hell yeah.
Yes, yep.
That was by far one of my favorite GameCube games. I think I had Jet Set Radio Future. I can't remember what system I had that on.
Fuck, I'm kicking myself because I forgot the first Jet Set Radio was a PS1 game. And that was insane. That game had a hell of a soundtrack too.
Dude,
and now that I'm thinking of PS1 games I forgot, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 were all major players in the PS1 era. And the reason I thought of it is because the era that we're in now is the one with Resident Evil 4, which is arguably the most popular game in the franchise.
Yeah.
So that was on the PS2 and the GameCube, and they released it again on the Wii, actually. Resident Evil 4 has been re-released 1,000 times, though. It's like Skyrim.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know who else were the big PS2 mascots, though, was Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, and Jack and Daxter.
Okay, now I gotta talk about this, because you know this. I've made it very, very well known that I'm a huge Grand Theft Auto online player.
Oh yeah, PS2 had GTA games.
But I had never played any of them.
Really?
No, I never played any of them. The first Grand Theft Auto game I ever played was Grand Theft Auto 5. Not even gonna bullshit.
Oh, wow.
But
okay.
I will say, I do know for a fact that PS2 saw 3 Grand Theft Auto games. I think it was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and I think Grand Theft Auto 4?
Nope, 4 was a PS3 game.
PS3? Okay, that's right. I'm drawing
It might have been Grand Theft Auto 3 because the first 2 were PS1 games. So
you're not wrong. Okay, yeah. So Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yeah, I would
Grand
say
Theft Auto
that
3,
Vice
San Andreas,
City,
and Vice City.
Vice City or San Andreas, one of those two is probably to this day still the most popular game in that franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Vice City.
Holy shit! Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, I don't mean to jump ahead, but just a little tidbit of information that I found out based on leaks from Grand Theft Auto 6. They're supposedly supposed to be bringing it back to Vice City. So there'll be...
Oh, that would be interesting.
We'll be able to see Vice City in 4K or 8K resolutions. And this will be exclusive to next-gen consoles.
Okay.
These new gen consoles.
So
They'll be
and
phasing
then,
out the PS4, the Xbox One.
the original Xbox, I didn't have one, but I had friends who did, and there was a lot of Halo LAN parties where people would bring their consoles over, and they would all hook up to the same internet and be playing like 8-player Halo across 2 consoles on 2 TVs with 4 controllers
So I didn't
each.
play any Xbox exclusives when I had the Xbox. I did play a few games that I really enjoyed. Excuse me. I played the Hulk. I just beat the shit out of things. I think I played my first.
I think that was like a
Spider-
movie tie-in game.
Yeah, it was. It was the movie game,
Okay.
not the Ed Norton one. It was the one before that.
I feel like the original Xbox was probably like the best thing to play that on because it just fits, because he's green.
Hey,
And
yeah, it really
chunky.
was. Yeah. I think. No, yeah, the original Xbox is the system I played my first Spider-Man game on, and I played it was the Spider-Man the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man game that they did for
another tie-in.
Yeah, another movie game. Yeah. I had a lot.
Man, you
of
remember
those.
we had so many movie tie-in games for so long, and
Hell
they
yeah.
they were hit or miss,
Yeah. But the ones that I played on Xbox were fun.
Oh yeah. There are a couple good ones. X-Men Origins Wolverine tie-in game is actually better than the actual movie.
Really?
Oh yeah, by a large margin. But yeah, I remember the big things on the original Xbox being mostly Halo, Halo 2, and Fable, the first Fable.
See, I didn't play any
I don't
of
think
those.
Gears of War came until the 360, but yeah, Fable is like it I wasn't into games like Halo at first, but I did get into it after a while. Not the kind of thing I usually play by myself. It was more fun with friends to go through the campaign and joke around, but it is it's okay now. It's sci-fi, and that's why I got into I was more willing to get into that than I was an army-based shooter, just because it's sci-fi. And then, that after that, I started getting into things like BioShock and stuff, and I was like, oh, there's a whole new world, first-person games I didn't know about. So,
Bro.
What?
I remember my brother's 3 years younger than I am. Keep that in mind. I remember my brother trying to convince my mom to buy Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for him.
Oh, wow. Well, that is how it was back then. That is how it was. And
she looked into it and she said, "Oh hell no."
Right. Well, at least she did her research. Some people just blindly buy those things for their kids and then complain about the content in them after having not done any research.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember those, and then the Sega Dreamcast, my biggest memory from that game is another Tomb Raider game, actually. There was Tomb Raider on the Dreamcast, but also Sonic Adventure is probably the biggest thing, because this was a big open-world 3D Sonic game that introduced new friends like Big the Cat and Amy Rose, and
okay.
It had a very interesting story. It had like that very famous scene where Sonic is like snowboarding down the road and being chased out by a truck. That's where that comes from. And they have the song Escape from the City, Follow me, set me free, and trust me and we will escape from the city. That butt rock, early 2000s
Don't
butt
quit your
rock.
day job, bro.
I know. It's just that kind of shit,
Yeah.
Rolling around at the speed of sound. That kind of thing. The classic Sonic hits, you know? But yeah, that was the biggest thing I remember from the Dreamcast was Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. I didn't really play the Dreamcast a whole lot. It was actually... it was the home console in a group home I lived in for a while.
Gotcha, okay. I also remember my brother talking about how stupid guitar was. And
oh, wow.
How, and when we were going grocery shopping with my mom, we would find him in the electronics playing Guitar Hero for hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say Guitar Hero and Rock Band were PS2 games too, weren't they?
His thing was Guitar Hero, and I gave him so much shit for it.
Yeah, that's some crazy shit. Being thinking guitar is stupid and being into Guitar Hero. So
and then he was in a fucking band. Then he was in a fucking band back in 2011, and he was the bass guitar player. Or no, he wasn't the bass guitar. He was the drummer. He was the drummer, and he later played bass guitar. Was he? I think he did. I think he did both sometimes. I can't remember.
Now, let me not forget to mention my all-time favorite Twisted Metal game, Twisted Metal Black, which this is when the series started. This is when the series started to get more dark and more violent and more horror focused, and it was. It was. I loved the original cutscenes for each character's stories and how the whole thing just had this really creepy dark vibe to it, and it was cool. That's still to this day my favorite Twisted Metal game of all time. They have yet to top it. It was better than everything that came before it, and nothing that's came after it has been as good. So
hell yeah.
So I think it's safe to say if I was to choose my favorite PS2 games, they would probably have to be Kingdom Hearts 2, Final Fantasy X, and Twisted Metal Black.
Speaking of Twisted Metal, the show is premiering on Peacock on July 27th.
Yep, very soon, right around the corner.
I can't fucking wait. I'm excited. I'm so fucking excited to watch this show. This is gonna be a weekly thing. Once this comes out, if I don't have Game of Thrones finished by the time this comes out, I'm putting Game of Thrones on halt, and I'm watching this shit.
Fair enough. I don't put things on hold. I just watch multiple things at the same time. To be like, fair. I guess I'll watch an episode of this today and an episode of that tomorrow, and then I'll take long breaks. I'll take long breaks from things and then randomly come back to them after a while too.
Fair. Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely I'd say Final Fantasy X, Twisted Metal Black, and Kingdom Hearts 2 are probably my big PS2 games. Special shout out to Ratchet and Clank as well. But they have better games in the future, in my opinion. So
now I'll have to say my favorite on PlayStation, because I played ATV Off-Road Fury 2. That was fun. I played my first Gran Turismo game on PlayStation 2.
Oh yeah, Gran Turismo.
Yeah. PlayStation. Hi.
The first Gran Turismo was on the PS1.
Yeah. So I think it was.
I think the first three actually. Gran Turismo 4 might have been the first PS2 one.
That's the one I played. Gran Turismo 4.
Okay.
Gran Turismo 4. I remember it very well.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not NASCAR.
No.
They've got their own games. They've got their own. No, Gran Turismo is a car enthusiast's racing game. It's very realistic for a reason. It's probably one of the most realistic racing games you could ever play.
Yeah.
It's very down to the fine science of car lingo shit that only car nuts understand.
True.
Yeah.
Need for Speed was on PS2.
Yes, there were several Need for Speed and Burnout, I believe, actually. Which one is the one where one of the mini games is you're driving downhill and trying to crash into shit and cause as much damage as possible?
I
think
don't
that was
remember. I don't
Burnout.
know.
I think that was Burnout.
I don't think I played Burnout.
Okay. Because I really like that minigame part of Burnout. I did that more than the racing, actually.
Yup.
I get them confused, though, because they both have this thing where the cops chase you while you're racing, so...
Yeah.
Holy shit. GameCube-wise, I would have to say... Oh, man, that's another toughie, but I'd probably give my choices to, like, definitely Smash Bros. Melee.
Oh, that's on my list. Yep.
Shit, I'm trying to think. There's not... Super Mario Sunshine, maybe? I don't know. I know Smash Bros. Melee for sure. I know you mentioned Pokemon Coliseum was there.
Yep.
Luigi's Mansion. I didn't play a lot of GameCube games, if I'm being honest. I just am very familiar with them. I guess Metroid Prime deserves a strong recommendation, because that was probably one of the most popular ones, for sure.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing got its start on the GameCube, I think, actually.
Yeah, I think so. I do believe you are correct on that.
Yeah, I would argue... I don't know about my favorites, but I would argue, yeah, the popular ones are probably Smash Bros., Metroid, Luigi's Mansion,
Luigi's...
shit, Wind Waker was the Zelda game on the GameCube. That's the one.
Yeah.
I remember. That's the one with Toon Link.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Yeah, I would argue that one is also up there in popularity just on account of it being Zelda.
Yeah.
So, oh man, good stuff there.
Hell yeah. Alright, Gen 7, shall we?
Hey there everyone, Oversoul here, and thank you so much for listening to the first part of our special 2-part episode of the Overcast, discussing all of the best games of every console generation and handhelds. In this episode, we discussed generations 1 through 6, so be sure to tune in next week to part 2, where we will discuss generations 7 through current, and all of the handhelds as well. Again, I have been Justin, aka Oversoul, and you can find me on Twitter at Oversoul53 and on YouTube at Oversoul Gaming. And Nick is aka the Vaping Fiend. You can find him at that username on Twitter, and the.vaping.fiend on Twitch, and the Vaping Fiend on the PlayStation Network as well. So, until next time, we'll see you in the Let's Plays. Good night, everybody.